celebrating 15 years of possibility. Pilot Flying J and Halloran Hilton Hill present Anything is Possible. Today's guest, Will West, Part 1.
This is Anything is Possible. I'm Halloran Hilton Hill, and these are great stories about great people whose lives prove possibility. This is my good friend, Will West. Welcome to the broadcast.
Glad to be here. I appreciate you having me.
We spent many mornings together.
Lots of mornings, yes.
And the conversations we had off the air were far better and far deeper than the ones we had on the air. And I said, I got to have Will come by. So thank you for being here today.
I'm glad to do it. Very much glad to do it. And anytime, anything I can do ever to help you or to work with you, I'm all about that.
Why is that, though?
Honestly, because I realized at a certain point when we started working together at first how much I lacked wisdom, right? And I don't know how much you've told the audience here on Anything is Possible, how much you study wisdom, but from there I realized that's an area that I'm deficient in, and this is a man that can sow that into my life and can help me to kind of to help me fill that area that I'm deficient in with wisdom. So I used to come in the mornings and I would just find different things in life that I had questions about and stuff like that. And I would just come try to just get you going on a topic, right? Like something that I would see in my life that I would say, I don't really have a lot of understanding in that area. So I'd walk in and say, hey, Hal, what do you think about, just to get you going so I could glean a little bit of wisdom in that 4 or 5 minutes while we're waiting for the break, between the break and when I would do the sports reports on your show.
You know what, though? I had no idea about your story during all that time.
Really?
I had no idea at all. Here's the only thing I knew. Chris Marion, friend, producer, told me you were a great guy. And my relationship with Chris is such that if he tells me something, I just trust it, right? I don't question it. And he's been spot on about people. And so I said, okay. And he kept telling me, pay attention to this guy. This guy's great. So I was just like, okay, I'm gonna pay attention to this guy. This guy's great. I had no idea what you've been through to get to where you are. Let's start at the beginning. Where were you born?
Louisville, Kentucky. My dad was in school there, went to seminary in Louisville, Kentucky at, I cannot remember, Boyd's Bible College. That was the name of it. But I was kind of an oops. Mom and dad got married, and they had me a little earlier than they really wanted to have me, right? And so mom was waiting tables, and dad was going to seminary, and then he started pastoring a church in Louisville, Kentucky. West End Baptist Church, I believe was the name of it.
So you're a preacher's kid.
Yeah, I'm a PK, yeah.
So how'd you grow up?
It's Baptist church for the most part, and then somewhere around middle school, Dad kind of said, you know, it feels like the Lord was calling him to do a non-denominational church. So he stopped doing the church, the Baptist church that we were in, started doing one. At this point, we were in Manchester, Georgia, at a Baptist church, also called West End Baptist Church. So it just kept coming up the whole West thing, right? We lived on West Main Street. My last name is West End Baptist Church. It just kept coming up, right? So Dad felt called to start a non-denominational church. So we started a non-denominational church in Manchester, did that for a while and had some struggles with it. And can't make enough money when you start your own church just being a pastor. So he went to work elsewhere as well at a wilderness camp for troubled boys. And so yeah, that's kind of, we lived in Manchester, Georgia for a while, a little small town, lived in Louisville, Kentucky, and then moved here in high school.
So what happened when you moved here in high school?
It was different, right? It was kind of culture shock. I went from a place that had a lot of diversity. I mean, Manchester was probably 60-40 black, right? And Seymour, 99.999991 black, right? So it was a little different. There were curbs everywhere. Even though Manchester was a small town, it was done like a town, right? Everything was on a square. It was still on a city. Seymour's, a lot of country, a lot of cow pasture, but it was always still home though. Like even when my family, when we lived in Georgia, we lived in Louisville, Tennessee, East Tennessee was always home. This is where my grandparents were. My mom's parents are in Morristown. My dad's parents were in Seymour. So, you know, my whole family was in Seymour. So we'd always come, but it was still a little bit different culturally, I would guess. Everybody skated where I came from in Manchester, Georgia, right? Like that's what you did. If you were a dude, you played football and you rode a skateboard. And when you moved to Seymour, it was like, you ride a skateboard, I would have punched you in the face.
Right.
It's kind of the way that went down. Yeah.
This is Will West, and you're watching Anything is Possible.
Possibility powered by Pilot Flying J, Covenant Health, Home Federal, and the Knoxville News Sentinel. Coming up.
And I remember waking up and I'm saying, what am I doing this for, right? How many years has this been? At that point, it had been 5 or 6 years I've been homeless on and off. And so I was walked over to the corner of Henley Street Bridge and just said, I'm done.
Welcome back to Anything is Possible. This is Will West, an incredible story of possibility. So you moved to Seymour from Manchester.
Yeah.
You go from diversity to, well, maybe a little less diversity,
yes,
right?
Yes, to put it politely, yes.
Culture shock for you.
Yeah, it kind of was.
Did you know you would end up as a broadcaster?
I did not.
What did you think was going to happen in your life about this time, your high school? Where'd you think you were going?
I thought I was going to play sports. I mean, I was good at sports. Like, I was very good at sports. And I thought that that's what I would do, right? And from there, I would probably go into political science or maybe broadcasting after that. But that was the goal one, was I'm going to play sports. That's what I'm going to do.
What happened to that dream?
I got on drugs. I started doing drugs.
How'd that enter your life?
Really, I here or there trying to be cool and a little bit of maybe rebellion, between the two of those things that I started. I smoked pot, I remember that, and then I was like, didn't rob nobody's VCR, didn't run over my grandmother, didn't do anything like that. That must mean cocaine's fine too, right? So I really, it moved quickly, you know what I mean? Like, I started doing drugs when I was probably a sophomore in high school, nothing that like a lot of kids don't do. But from there, for me, I was not someone who could handle it. And I got into a lot of drinking, a lot of drugs, didn't really stop for a number of years, and sports was gone the next thing you know?
So you burned that part of your life.
Yeah.
So where do you end up?
Well, from there, I mean, I ended up over and over again trying to get it back together in school, right? And go back to school, go back to college. I had to get my GED. I got kicked out of school. Different things. I mean, skipping school, usually get high was the biggest one, and I wouldn't show up. I was so whacked out. Like, my brain was so gone at that point. I'd done drugs, so many drugs so quickly. And I ended up homeless on the street for a number of years. And my family, they tried with me, you know what I mean? Like, they tried with me so many times, and they would bring me back in. All right, this time you're gonna get clean. And I would think I was going to, and then.
You have siblings?
Yeah, I have a brother and a sister.
So what were they feeling as you were going through all of this?
If I'm just being 1,000% honest with you, I don't remember a lot of it. So a lot of it's a blur. And I hate that, because I hate that I kind of missed a lot of those years with my family, where I don't remember what my brother's high school life was like, and to be able to speak to him as somebody who went through it, because they're both younger, and to be able to say, hey man, I've been there, here's what this can do. Or my sister, I don't remember a whole lot past when my sister started middle school till she was out of high school. About an 8-year period, just a lot of it's a blur, if I'm being 100% honest.
Homeless?
Homeless, yes. On the street, homeless.
What was that like?
It's a state of triage, if that makes sense, right? Everything's just about the next meal. There's no mission. There's no moving forward. There's no even attempt to try to get anything else except for meeting the individual needs that you have that day, right? I know what it's like to pull food out of a trash can. I know what it's like to wait till the end of the night, and that's just some of the things people might not know about homelessness. You wait till the end of the night, and you go to the windows at drive-thrus, and you find the change people dropped, and things like that. You pick those up. And pick that change up, and you get enough money to get you, 25-cent bag of crackers or something like that, things like that to get you through the day. And what was weird is I knew God was with me the whole time. I mean, I was raised Christian. I knew I was blessed. I knew I was coming out of it. And I know that sounds weird because I don't remember a lot of my formative years, but I knew, remembering, God's gonna get me out of this. It's gonna happen. This is where I am right now. God's gonna deliver me. It's gonna happen.
What did it do to your self-esteem?
Frankly, there's guilt, right? Like, that's the biggest thing that you get. It's not necessarily I've had people do things to me that weren't great. I've been beaten up, I've been stolen from, and things like that. People who have done things to me.
Like when you were homeless?
Before and after and during. But there is no pain like knowing you caused it. Knowing that you're the one that did it. That I got nobody to blame but myself on this one. And it leads you to have a lot of depression, and a lot of issues. And it's hard to get back up because you think, especially once you've blown it 2, 3, that's why, when you see chronic homelessness, when you see 2, 3, 4 times that you end up homeless, and you just start to thinking, maybe I'm not any better than this. Maybe I'm not capable of being better. Maybe I'm not capable of getting out of this. Maybe I'm not capable of anything more, and maybe this is my lot. But I always felt like, but God, right? But God's gonna do something in me, and it's that proverb, train a child, right? And so I always knew at some point in time, God's gonna do something, And so you just keep putting one foot in front of the other every day. But there's no mission, there's no goal, there's no forward motion. It's just survive that day, try to find a place to sleep, survive the next day, try to find a place to sleep, survive the next day.
Did you ever consider suicide?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Did you ever attempt it?
I never straight up attempted suicide. How I finally got clean, done with homelessness was, and again, I need you to understand how many times my family tried with me. And I need you to understand how many times people gave me chances. How many times, like when we were in high school, my family would have to hide their money in a locked briefcase because I would steal it. And they still would bring me back in after that, even though they couldn't trust to leave their wallet on the dresser or lose change anywhere, or I would steal it. They had to put all the family's money in one place. They still tried with me, you know? So one night I'm sleeping, and because I grew up with a relationship with the Lord, I went to sleep. There used to be this bush, and now it's like a larger group of bushes, but there was this one bush in front of Church Street United Methodist Church, right there on Henley Street, right next to the bridge. And I was sleeping there. My grandmother was in the hospital, at Baptist Hospital at the time, and she didn't want to see me because of where I was, and that hurt, you know?
She didn't want to see you.
Didn't want to see me because it hurt her to see me. And they'd give me so many chances, you know what I mean? That it hurt her. They'd give it up on me. And I went and slept. I would sleep under that bush because it would make me feel safe to sleep that close to the church, right? Just to be close to it, just for some reason, made me feel safe. So one night, it's in the middle of the night, and I wake up, and I don't even think I went to sleep actually that night, but I'm just sitting there underneath this bush trying to go to sleep. You sleep 2 or 3 hours, about all the sleep you could get a night. You know, you go to the library the next day and try to sleep for a little while in there or something like that, like before a police officer come wake you up. And I remember waking up and I'm saying, what am I doing this for, right? How many years has this been? At that point, it had been 5 or 6 years I've been homeless on and off. And so I walked over to the corner of Henley Street Bridge and just said, I'm done. You know, like how long has this taken? How many times have I done this? How many times have I been around this mountain, right? What's the point? So I walk over to Henley Street Bridge, and I just look over the bridge, and I'm thinking, well, I don't want to land on the water, so let's stand over the Neyland Drive part, right? The part that's above Neyland Drive. And I was facing west on the Henley Street Bridge, and I remember just still having this feeling like, I know God's going to save me. I know God's going to save me. And so I just yelled out and screamed into the air, and it's like 2, 3, 4 in the morning, something like that. I just screamed out into the air, if you want to save my life, here I am. And I've still firmly expected God at that moment, like, here comes God on a white horse with a lease for an apartment and keys to a car, you know what I mean? Like it's, you know what I mean? Like, because at the time, I guess I didn't have as much of an understanding about what the Lord was. And so my relationship was like he's Santa Claus is what I was looking for. And nothing. So I step over to the side, right over next to from where the sidewalk is, there's that like concrete like handrail there that's on the side. And I step over there and I put my left foot up on top of the handrail. And I said, all right, let's do this. And right about that time, this gust of wind hits. And it blew my hat off that I had on my head. And it blew it right in the middle of Henley Street, like right in the middle of it. And I turn around and go get my hat, because when you're gonna kill yourself, you gotta have your hat out, right? You know what I mean? You're gonna kill yourself without your hat. I don't know why I turned around to pick it up. But I turned around and walk over and picked it up. And right when I bent over and put my hands on it, I felt like the Lord said to me, if you want to kill yourself, I can't stop you. But if you want me to change your life, come on. And everything changed after that. Everything in my life changed after that.
We'll talk about the change that came after that when we come back. This is Anything is Possible.
Coming up.
So many things, dude, that I had done that were just horrid, that frankly, I don't have the guts to tell them to you right now. It was love that did it, though.
A hat? I mean, this is Anything is Possible. Who would think that going back, what kind of hat was this, by the way?
It was when I was a kid, I loved Bo Jackson, so I had an Auburn hat.
Do you still have the hat?
No, I don't have the hat anymore.
Yeah,
I got my house robbed, like after that. So another time, way later, that my house got robbed and the hat was among the things that got stolen. But yeah, I still don't have the hat. I don't still have the hat.
So it was a gust of wind.
A gust of wind.
Had it been a windy night or morning otherwise?
I don't remember there being really that much wind like that, right? I mean, it's to this day, and people can think I'm nuts, and I do not care. I believe it was the Lord that sent a gust of wind and blew my hat off of my head, blew my hat directly into the middle of Hidley Street. I walked over, bent over, picked it up, and just heard him say, "If you want to kill yourself, I can't stop you."
So what happened next?
I went to the parking garage where Children's Hospital was, and I slept in a corner there that night. And I went and I picked up some half-smoked cigarette butts out of the area that was around the smoking area around the hospital. And I had a pack of matches in my little bag, and I lit a couple of those up. And all of a sudden, a girl that used to live next to my brother saw me on the street and said, "Your brother's looking for you." I'm like, "All right, I don't know what's going on." But so I went to a payphone, called my brother, and he's like, "Mom's trying to find you." And so I called my mom, and she just said to me, "God told me I need to serve you." And it broke me, man. Like, it's so many times, so many things that I had done that were just horrid, that frankly, I don't have the guts to tell them to you right now. It was love that did it, though. It was something broke inside of me when she said, "God told me to serve you," after everything I'd done for years. And it broke, like it broke me. And so she came and picked me up and told her where I was at, gave me a meal, let me get showered, put me in this back bedroom that they had to use to be my sister's old bedroom. Handed me a Bible. She'd done some research to find out what can you do to try to help people get sober. My dad walked to me, and me and my dad fought a lot growing up, you know, and my dad walked up to me that night, and he said to me, "The Lord said that I need to repent to you for leading my son to wrath." And there was just something about that moment. Like, people yelled at me, cussed at me, bartered with me, tried to do anything to convince me to get clean. But it made me realize that's when I knew the word, like it kept coming to my head, right? The word's real. It's the love of God that leads to repentance. Because it was love in that moment that made me see it all, and it broke me. And it quite frankly changed my desire. I didn't want to get drunk anymore. I didn't want to get high. I couldn't say no to it before. I didn't want it anymore after that. Just that love broke me. And from there, it was me and a Bible for a little while, and my mom found out that Dr. Pepper was something that helps clean the liver. So she went and brought 24 packs of Dr. Pepper, not just sit and drink Dr. Pepper, and coffee, she found out as well, to get clean. And I did that, and I don't even remember like throwing up or having DTs like that or anything like that at all. And it was just me and the Word, right? So I got in the Word, and I read the Word and I'd always Sunday school,
Great.
Vacation Bible school. Something about it hit me differently this time, and I felt like it was just, get in this Word like you've never read it before, you know? And so I'd sit and just read that Word, and that's what I did, is get in that Word. Like I remember when Jesus said, "When you fast, anoint your head with oil," right? So I just got to that portion of the Bible. All right, walked into the kitchen, put some Wesson oil on my head, threw it on my head. There's that one, Lord, right? Like I'm marking things off a checklist, like I'm reading it like it's the first time I ever read it in my life. And I went back to Pellissippi, went and got my GED, went back to Pellissippi, took the ACT, had a really good score on the ACT, so didn't have to take as much remedial stuff as I thought I was going to have to. I got to a point in the Bible where I was at Habakkuk, and I read in the book of Habakkuk, which is one of those things, because I had never heard anybody preach out of Habakkuk, and my dad was a preacher, right? I was always in church. But write the vision plainly upon the tablets so that he can read it and may run with it. So I took this black notebook, like found an old notebook that my parents had, some loose leaf paper, and I started writing a vision for what I wanted my life to look like from there. And one of the things was I wanted to be a sports radio host. And I went back to school. I started studying some cross. I wanted to do that, and I wanted to do film. And I wanted to do both of them. And I just started writing what I wanted my life to look like, right on there. And I prayed over it and said, "I trust you, Lord. I'm going to go do the best I can." I take the bus to school, take the bus to a job working at the Sbarro at East Town Mall, and just started working. And then from there, I started working at an Old Navy and continued to work at Pellissippi. And there was a guy Corey Gibson, I know you know Corey,
Yeah.
who was an engineer at the station. Well, he needed some extra money for Christmas that year. So he called me the fall of 2006 and was like, hey man, can you help me with a part-time job there at Old Navy? Maybe, I need to make a little extra money for Christmas, because I know he'd worked retail and done that in the past, just make some extra money for Christmas, because there's always a lot of hours in retail at that time. So I got Corey a job there at Old Navy, working there. And then Corey told me about, on News Talk, there was someone who quit because they allowed a cuss word to go over the air. I was like, well, Lord, I want to do sports. Frankly, I don't like politics. You know what I mean? But whatever you're opening the door to, let's do it, right? At the time, also, I didn't turn down work. So if you're paying, I'm staying. That's what I thought at the time. So I started at the station in January 2007, being the guy who sat at the Rush Limbaugh show, and I hit the dump button if Rush said a cuss word that his producers let out. That lasted for about 2 weeks, and then I started producing George Corda's show, State Your Case, and weekend shows, and I started just picking up every drop of work I could get beyond that.
We're going to take a break. In part 2 of my conversation with Will West, we'll talk about what his life has become now, because to go from where you were to where you are and climbing is amazing. You're watching Anything is Possible, part 2 with Will West, next time.